as a remote sales pro, one of the things that always challenged me was how do I sell without sounding like I'm being salesy? And a lot of sales pros that I talk to and train deal with this same issue. They're closing at, let's say, 20%, which is way below their potential. And they're like, how do I get from that 20% to boost to 30%, 40% close rate? Part of this is learning how to sell without sounding like you're selling. Because if you sound like you are selling something, when you get in a sales call, you're going to trigger the prospect, the person you're selling to, you're going to trigger them to perceive this person, you, is trying to get something from me. And the moment the person feels you're trying to get something from them and that it's more of a win for you to close them than it would be for them to actually make a buying decision, that's when they immediately shut down and you find yourself in a bad place. So in this video, I'm gonna explain to you how I learned how to sell without actually selling, which allowed me to go from making like 2-3 a month in commissions to end up doing 15K plus, my highest month being 18K in February of last year in commissions, and putting myself in a position for massive freedom because I learned how to sell at an elite level where I didn't sound like I was doing sales anymore. I'm going to give you guys that exact step-by-step process that I use to sell without selling. Now, the first thing you have to understand, and we're going to go through 4 basic principles here, 4 things that are going to change the game for you if you apply them. The first thing is you have to become extremely conversational. So when I'm selling, when I'm having conversations with my prospects, and this is something I emphasize constantly to clients, I emphasize this when I train our people, is you want your sales call to sound like a conversation. You want it to sound like a dialogue. You don't want it to sound like you're trying to get something from someone else. So the example that I would always use would be, imagine that you're at the bar talking to a good friend. You're at the bar sitting with a good friend, and they're talking about something that has happened in their life, right? Let's say that they went through a bad breakup, or let's say that they got a new job, and you were to give them some support or some advice or some insights. How would that sound in a conversation between you and them in a bar or sitting in a cafe over tea? It would sound like a conversation. It wouldn't sound like you were trying to accomplish anything, because you're not trying to accomplish anything, because it is not a sales call, right? So in modern day remote sales, you don't want to trigger, like I said earlier, you don't want to trigger the prospect feeling this person's trying to accomplish something here and trying to get something from me. So your conversations need to literally sound like a conversation. So when I sell to someone, the way I communicate with them, it sounds like I'm just talking to a friend. And what it would sound like, I'll role play it when I go through my scripting. So I guess when it comes to ecomm, tell me what you're looking for. Where do you want to be in the business? There's one. Second question would be, and what have you done to try to make that happen so far? Tell me about that journey. Third question, and what do you feel is the big thing that's been holding you back? Like, what's been stopping you from just, I don't know, making it happen, faster or doing things the right way? They answer that. Next question, okay, and how long has that been going on for? They answer it, oh, really? Wow, okay. That's been a bit of time. So I guess, do you feel like if you keep doing things this way, a lot of the ups and downs, it seems like you're lacking consistency? Do you feel like you're going to see the results that you'd want, like as quickly as you'd want them, or you feel like there's some small or maybe even large changes that you're going to need to make to the business and how you're doing things? Or how do you feel? Right? The way that I'm talking to my prospects, and if you've seen any of my sales calls, and if you want to see them, you can go through the closer trainings for remote sales pros. I have a playlist here on our channel where I break down live calls, and you can see my live calls. You'll see how it doesn't sound like I'm doing sales. It just sounds like a conversation. When I role play and train live, it's the same thing. It sounds just like a conversation, because your sales calls, you want them to mirror and be an extension of the conversations that you're going to have in real life. And I'm going to give you more sauce on this here. There's things that I'm going to teach you here that'll help you do this at an even higher level. But you want it to sound conversational, extremely conversational. You don't want your sales calls to sound like what the person would perceive is, this is a sales call where you're trying to get something from me. Second point, and really stick with me here, don't zone out, stick with me, because we're going to go into some crazy value. The second one is you have to stop sounding rehearsed. Okay, this is a really big one. You've got to stop sounding rehearsed. And a place where I see this happen a lot is in objections. So in objections, as an example, there's a statement that we use, something we have called buy-in. Buy-in and double buy-in. Buy-in is when you ask someone, before you go into handling objections, someone says, hey, I want to think about it. And you ask them, do they feel like this can actually help? You need to get that answer properly, if they feel like this can actually help them before you go into objection handling, before you go into smacking their objection away and getting them to buy, you need to figure out, do they actually like the program? Do they feel like it can help them make changes, right? My dog is going crazy back there. But what you want to do is you want to deliver this information without sounding rehearsed. Here's what's interesting. You don't want it to sound like you've done it a billion times. Imagine an actor, right? Let's say I don't know who's an actor you guys like a lot. Let's say Leo DiCaprio, right? If Leo says a line in a film, as an actor, he's probably said that line 20 times in the same shot, right? He's delivered it, or even more, depending on the shot that they're doing. He's said that line over and over and over again. But when you hear it in the theater, or you see it in the movie, it doesn't sound like he's ever said it before. It sounds like it's the first time he's ever said it. Because each time he delivers the line and delivers the information, he does it with absolute conviction. It doesn't sound rehearsed. So when you say these lines and these pieces of scripting, you need to make sure they don't sound rehearsed. So as an example in objections, the way we get buy-in, which is again, checking if the prospect feels like this can actually help them. Some people in the sales space call it temp check. I like calling it buy-in. Get some buy-in first. Make sure they're actually bought into the process. So here's how it sounds, what the scripting is. So I guess before you take time and think about it, which is not a problem, do you feel like what we do actually can help you make changes and help you build the business and get it to the point where you're at 10K plus, or how do you feel? Because that's the most important thing. That's the scripting, right? What a lot of sales pros will do is they'll say this this is how it'll sound. So do you feel like we actually can help you get to the 10K per month? That's how they say it. And the person's like, yeah, of course. Why do you feel like we can? It's not the worst thing in the world, but it sounds like you've done this before and you just knew that this was going to be your line. Whereas when I say this, and again, I imagine you're doing this with like 20 plus statements on a live sales call, right? So it's not like the one statement I make changes everything, but it's at scale, doing this over and over again, doing it correctly. That's what makes the changes, right? So what I'll do, how does it sound with me? Well, before you go and take the time to think about it, which again, not a problem, just curious, do you feel like what we do here in terms of our process, in terms of, kind of how we help our clients have success, do you feel like that can actually help you and the process can work for you? Or how do you feel? Because that's really, for me, John, that's the most important thing. Do you hear the way that I said that? How it sounded like I've never said that statement before. And I delivered it with so much genuine heart and feeling, which is a point we're going to go into in a second. And I delivered it that way so that it doesn't sound rehearsed. When you do this, guys, it's going to increase your close percentage. And again, you'll make more money. The reason why, I want to be clear on why, because I'm not just giving you this stuff for my health. Like, I'm not telling you this because it's cool little training for YouTube. The reason why this is going to make you more money is because your prospects need to feel heard, they need to feel seen. And it doesn't mean that they're going to buy because you have a lot of empathy. It doesn't mean that. But it means that, dude, you have like 45 to an hour to take someone's money. When you're getting on Zoom, you have 45 minutes to take this person's money. So you need to make sure the prospect needs to make sure that they actually feel heard and they feel seen, and that this is a conversation that's going to lead to them making change. That's why we do this. So it's not like, I'm not telling you that it's so important to be this person who's providing a listening ear and is listening to everything. I'm not going to BS you and tell you all that's important. But it is, however, very important that the prospect feels, oh, this is a real dialogue and a conversation where we're trying to create change, because then they're going to mirror that and their actions are going to be in line with that of a person who wants to make change. Does that make sense? And a person who wants to make change, what kind of things will they do? They'll invest in themselves, right? So you can't let your dialogue sound rehearsed. It can't sound like you've done this a billion times before. It can't sound like you're just going through the motions. When you ask a question like, what would that look like? Let's say you make all the changes. When our team puts you in a position where you have had the success, you can't make it sound rehearsed. So as an example, what the bad version of that would sound like is this. So when our team puts you in a position where you have, found your dream partner, what would that feel like? It doesn't sound authentic. It sounds like you're rehearsing it, like you've done it a billion times and you're just delivering it for the sake of it. Here's how you'd want that question to sound. So when our team, puts you in a position where you have found your dream partner, and you've built that life outside of just like saying the label of I'm not single and I have a woman in my life, what does that do for you? Like personally, what does that really do for you as a man, having that woman and that partner in your life? Do you hear how we deliver that, right? And the reason we deliver it this way, again, is because you need to do it to get the prospect to mirror you and to open up as well. There has to be an exchange of energy where you're having a genuine dialogue, the same way you would with a friend, that same energy is there, and they're going to mirror that and have a discussion and open dialogue with you as well, right? That's the game. That's how it works. So you don't want to be sounding rehearsed. The third point, and this is really going to change the game for you if you use it correctly, is using filler words. Now, you don't want to overdo this. This is important to understand. There's balance here because a lot of people will overuse this. The words like, but, You don't want to be stuttering all over yourself and stammering all over yourself. That's not helping anyone. But what you do want to do is use filler words sometimes within reason and use them moderately. Okay, a filler word is a word where it's like, and I guess, or and something I want to bring up would be, or another filler word would be in something that's interesting, or another filler word would be a thought and just a bit of a perspective would be. That's filler words. So it's where you're not just firing off the script and ratting off the script, but what you're actually doing is using words that are going to tap into and simulate normal dialogue and normal conversation that you would have with a normal person that you're not trying to sell anything to. You want to simulate that in your words, right? So how does that sound? Filler words. I'll run through some more protocols in scripting. Let's say that we use consequence questions, like, the negative side. What don't we want to happen for your fear stage? What would that be? What would that look like? So let's go back to let's use a trading offer. We'll use that. So one thing that I just want to look at here, John, there's the filler words. One thing that I just want to look at here, we don't want to overuse it, but I'll use it there. One thing I want to kind of explore, John, is let's say you keep dealing with the same limits in your process and a lot of the same inconsistencies over time when it comes to your trading, and it comes to just, your success as a trader, online, working remotely. What does that look like over time if you don't fix this? And I guess there's another filler word. I guess if it continues and you don't solve things, what's the negative side of that for you? See the filler words? Because I'm using filler words, it allows me to interact with the prospect from a very genuine way that feels natural, that feels normal, without things sounding like I'm just on a script, I'm just using like a routine, which again, we don't want that to happen. Make sense? That's really important. That's part of the game. And finally, here's the fourth point, and this, again, will really take your sales skills from where they're at now, which I would assume is not where you want them to be because you're watching this, to elite level, hyper performance. Delivering your scripting with feeling. That's the next one. There needs to be feeling behind it. And again, it's kind of a compilation, that feeling of everything we talked about already, being conversational, not sounding rehearsed, using the filler words, all of that contributes to feeling, but I want to emphasize how important it is. You want to deliver your scripting with feeling. You want the prospect to feel like you're asking these questions from the most genuine place with the best of intentions, where there isn't this ulterior motive, but it's an open dialogue and an open conversation. Take this and run with it in your sales game this week as you go on deals, as you go on calls and close deals. And again, delivering the feeling sounds like there's weight behind your words. There was a guy that I was training recently, my guy Michael, and one of the things we were working on is he shouldn't sound like the sales pro who's just there to do his job. He should sound like he actually gives a fuck, like he actually cares, and like he's actually genuinely curious. So when I ask a question like, I'm just curious what's coming up for you just to see if I can help. That's an objection handling question. I don't want to make that sound like this. Hey, I'm just curious what's coming up for you just to see if I can help. Look at my face. There was no expression. There was nothing there. This is how I want it to sound. I'm just curious when you go in, and take the time and think about things, what's coming up for you there? Just to see if there's any way that I can help. Do you see how I deliver with such deep concern and questioning in my eyes, my face? What's the thought process there? What's coming up for you there? And again, I'm just asking to see if I can help in any way. This is how you're going to make money in sales, make more money, right? There's a couple things you need to get down as a sales pro that are going to make you money. Number one is just fearlessness, not having a great degree of fear. If you find yourself bottled up by fear, you're always going to be limiting yourself because you're not going to be operating to your best potential. You're not going to be interacting with your prospects in a way that's going to make them money, that's going to help them make change, is going to make you money. Like, that's it. Your fear is going to stop you. The second thing is going to be understanding objections and having an ideal process. Objections plus process. So I consider them separate. Objections and process are under one bundle, but it's their own individual entities, right? You need to be elite at objection handling, and you need to also have a process. That's the other part of the game, right? And what's the third piece? The third piece is going to be your tone, your energy, and the dialogue, how natural you are sounding when you deliver information. So let's say that you have all the confidence in the world and you can destroy objections, which is going to be my next video. I'm going to make a masterclass on objections training. It's going to be really powerful for you. But let's say you can do both of those things, but your tonality absolutely sucks. Hey, you're not going to be in a good position. You're not going to be closing a lot of deals, right? You're going to struggle. But let's say you have a great tonality, which I know a lot of the guys from, the big company, I'm not going to say names, but you know who I'm talking about. They're all great tonality guys. They ask all these good sounding questions. And maybe they got some confidence, but they actually don't know how to handle objections at an elite level that is better than anyone in the industry. What happens there? You're not going to close again because people are going to be saying, I want to think about it, and you're going to be busy trying to pre-handle objections all day, not making money, which we don't want that to happen either. Okay, that's the game. That's how you're going to win. If you want more sauce on this and you want to see exactly how I do this, you want to learn from me directly, it's free. I'm not selling you anything, got nothing to sell you here. Check out our YouTube channel. This is my YouTube channel. I'm all over the place today. I didn't have enough coffee yet. Check out our school community. Our school community is free. It's called school.com/quantum level. Check it out, join. You can put in a request to join the community. Me or someone on my team is going to look at your request, and if we like what we see, we'll just approve you. We have tons of trainings and breakdowns on sales strategies and our scripting. I give away everything that I do in terms of objection handling. I've got live recordings of my calls, live breakdowns. We even have training that's free, live with me once a week. We cut it up on Thursdays. Me and the boys go pretty hard, and a couple ladies as well on our Thursday trainings. That's it. I want you to make a bunch of money. Welcome to January. I hope that you're on point. If not, you need to get on point. It's time to make money. It's time to crush it. It's time to push. Okay, I will see you on our next training. Let's go. Let's get in the game. Let's make money. I'll see you next time here on YouTube or in school.